So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our second session of the EstimatorXpress Software Skills course. So Module 2 is all about setting up the price book to reflect the prices that you pay. Of course, you'll need the price book to be set up accurately for your estimates to be accurate. So we've gone through the motions of doing an estimate, but now we need to get under the bonnet and make sure that those base prices are correct so that the information coming out of the estimate is meaningful. So whenever you create an estimate, what the software does is it creates a copy of your library price book, and it uses that price book as the basis for your estimate. When you go into the estimate and you make any changes to the prices within that estimate, it does not affect the library because it is a copy of that library price book that you're using for that particular estimate. So as such, each estimate can have slightly different pricing. So what we want to do now is go into that library price book and make sure that the underlying settings that are used every time we create an estimate are set as accurately as possible. So if we click on the, actually let's just click where it says library or on the cog icon there. This takes us to the library screen. So you'll see we've got the library price books, we've got the library specifications, we've got the library overhead, profit and inflation settings. So from this library screen, you can fine-tune the underlying settings for all of these aspects of your estimates. So you can edit your price book, you can set your default overhead, profit and inflation from here. You can set up your library specifications, again, that you can pick and mix or select when you create your estimate. But this is your core base set of data, which forms the basis for any estimates that you create. So if we click on the navigator where it says price books, this takes us just to the library of price books. Now I've only got one price book in my software. There is, you might have noticed, the option to copy your price book to create your own. However, we strongly recommend that you stick with the master price book and tweak that as needs be to reflect the prices you pay. I think I might have said during the first session, if you create your own price book, then you become entirely responsible for keeping all of those prices up to date. If you use the master price book, it's linked to our prices on the web through HP Excel Price Tracker Plus, and you can just click download and you will get a download of our latest prices into your software. So they are live prices within the master price book. If you copy the price book, of course, you then create your own price book, which isn't linked to our live catalogue. So it then becomes a massive job to keep those prices up to date. So usually 99% of our customers just stick with the master price book and use that. So if we click open next to where it says master price book, you'll see there's 5 different sections to the price book. We're going to start off in the labour section. So if we click labour and then select. Okay, so on the left you can see a list of all of the labourers within the software. So they're organised by type. So you've got your bricklayers first, then your chippies, then decorators, demolition contractors, electricians, and so on. So if you look at the type column, you can see how they're grouped. Next to that, we can see their list price. So their rates are all set up as hourly rates. So it may well be that you pay your guys by the day. What you will need to do is work out their hourly rate based on their day rate. So if you pay someone 160 quid a day, then of course that's going to be £20 an hour. So divide the day rate by 8 and make sure that the list prices in here are correct as an hourly rate. The reason for that is that the software calculates all of the labour times by the hour. So just make sure that when you're putting in any labour rates that you type them in as hourly rates. If you've got any multi-trade people, so if you're a fairly small outfit and you've got a guy who does multiple trades, so he might do bricklaying and do joinery, find those two labourers within the price book and set them both to the rate that you pay your guy. Okay, so we can quickly edit the labour rates using the editing tools button. So on the menu at the top of the screen, we've got an editing tools button. If we click on that and then click edit prices, that will unlock the purchase price column. So we've got two price columns here. The first is the list price. These are the prices in your software out of the box. Purchase price is what you pay. So if these need tweaking, then you can change them within this purchase price column. So it's a case of clicking into each of the labourers and typing what you pay them. So I would suggest we start with the bricklayer. These are organised alphanumerically, by the way, which is why you get the ones starting with numbers at the top, which is not necessarily most logical in terms of editing them. But so I will start with the bricklayer, type in the rate you pay your bricklayer. So I'm going to say, for example, £20 an hour. And then I'm going to move down to my bricklayer, my bricklayer's mate, and I'm going to tweak that as well. So I pay him £13 an hour. Then I'm going to click down to the next one, which is bricklayer and a mate. So I'm going to combine those two costs to work out what the gang size is. I know this is probably ridiculously cheap. Type in whatever you pay your guys. Then I'm going to loop back around to the top and do that bit of arithmetic and work out two bricklayers and a mate. Unfortunately, the software doesn't do the gangs automatically. And then finally, 4 bricklayers and a mate. You've got to have a big site, haven't you, to have a gang that big, I'd imagine. So yeah, it's a case of doing a quick bit of mental maths. So I've just worked through the bricklayers. So that's how I'd suggest you do it, just trade by trade, typing in the price you pay your guys into that purchase price column. So we'll just do the bricklayers for now. I'll just give you a minute to finish that if you haven't already. Okay, so once you've made those changes, click the Save Edited Changes button. A box will pop up saying, do you want to save these changes as an adjustment? Always click Yes. And in this adjustment column here, you'll see a percentage appear. This shows the difference between the list price, so the figure that was in the software out of the box, and what you pay. So that's an interesting point of reference. That adjustment can be a positive or a negative figure. So because I've decreased my rates for these guys, they're negative figures. But if you've increased yours, it will just be it will be a positive increase, positive adjustment. Sorry. So I've shown you how you can change line by line the prices of the cost of these labourers, but we can also apply an adjustment to multiple items in one go. So in this case, we'll do it on some labour rates, but in the same way you can do this within the materials section as well. So let's say I want to add 10% to the list price for all of my electricians, just as an example. So what we need to do that is to go back to the editing tools, and this time click Edit Adjustments. So we're going to just type in a percentage adjustment this time. We're not going to touch the purchase price. We're going to put in an adjustment and let the software do the maths. So if we click Edit Adjustments, that was Editing Tools, click Edit Adjustments, click on the first line that you want to edit. So in this case, it's electrician. Then hold down the Shift key on your keyboard. So it's on the left-hand side the right hand side usually, actually, with an up arrow on. So click on the first item you want to apply the adjustment to, hold down the Shift key, and then click on the last item that you want to apply the adjustment to. So all the rows that you want to adjust should now be highlighted. And then if you right click, a little menu pops up and you can click Edit Resource. I'll just go through that again because there's a series of things you need to do there. So we've gone to Editing Tools, Edit Adjustments, click on the top item that you want to edit, hold down the Shift key, keep that Shift key down, and then click on the last item that you want to edit. Then right click and select Edit Resource. The Edit Resource box pops up and you'll see the second box there is for an adjustment. So if I type in 10, I'm just going to type a 1 at the start of all those noughts. So that's going to add 10% onto the rates that are in there. If I wanted to take away 10%, I'd just put a minus sign at the start. Once you've typed in the adjustment you want to use, click OK. We'll make sure that the apply box is ticked next to it. Click OK. And you'll see the adjustment appears in that adjustment column, and then that 10% has been added on to the electrician's rates. So that adjustment has been applied to all the lines that I've selected. So you could select the whole price book, the whole labour section of the price book, and apply that kind of a broad brush adjustment if you wanted a quick and dirty way of increasing your rates. Of course, we'd always urge you to be a little bit more detailed in your changes so that your estimates are more accurate, but there is that capacity to do that. So I've just shown you there how you can edit the prices. So you can either click Edit Prices and edit the prices in the purchase price column to the rates that you pay your guys, or you can select Edit Adjustments, click, use the Shift key, and click again to select the range of items you want to apply an adjustment to. Then in that Edit Resource box you can type in the adjustment you want to apply to those lines. So 2 ways of editing the prices. These, as I said before, can be done within any section of the price book, so you can do that to change your labour prices as well. Within your labour section, you can also add your own labourers if you want to. So for example, if you wanted to use a 3-in-1 bricklaying gang, you could add it in. The only caveat with that is that the gangs that we've got in here already are already in use. They're set up within the different specifications. So for a 2-in-1 gang is the default in most of the specifications. So if you added your own gang size in, you would then need to go into the specification and swap that gang in for all the different tasks, relevant tasks. So it does create a little bit of work for you. If there's a specialist labourer you want to add in, I guess there's things like specialist floor tiler or like a UPVC specialist or something. There are the odd professions that we don't have in there. You can add them in if you need to. I'll talk you through how to add resources when we go into the material section, and the principles are exactly the same whichever section of the price book you're in. So hopefully you can apply those skills wherever you need them. Okay, so we'll move on to the material section now. So if you can click Material underneath where it says Master Price Book on the navigator on the left, that will take you straight into the material section. Okay, so before we start doing some of our own editing within the material section, I just want to highlight the Download Prices button. You'll want to come and click this button each time before you create an estimate. The Download Prices button is linked to the HP Excel Price Tracker Plus catalogue. So at the moment, our construction engineer Andy and the development team are reviewing and updating prices on a monthly basis because of the way that material prices are fluctuating, or maybe just increasing at the moment. We're trying to keep on top of that as much as we can. So if timber prices leap up 20–30%, we should catch that in our monthly reviews. And if you click download prices, then you will get, I think the latest review was done last week, so your prices will be pretty much as current as can be. So always make sure you click that download prices button before you do a job, and then you'll be working with pretty much latest prices. So the material section of the price book is quite a hefty beast, unnecessarily so. So what I want to do is show you how you can filter the price book down into some smaller chunks to make it easier to look at, to make it easier to review. So the first thing we can do is sort, or rather filter, the price book by supplier. So you'll see we've got a column called merchant, and if you've got links with any of our merchant partners, you'll be able to see materials from them showing on screen. If you don't have any merchant links, then you will just have HPXL Price Tracker Plus products. If you want to filter the price book to only show one particular merchant, if you hover your cursor over where it says merchant, you'll see an icon appears there. It looks like a key. I think it's supposed to be like a funnel. If you click on that filter icon, a list of all the merchants within your software will appear, and you can just click or tick the merchant that you want to show on screen, or the merchants. Once you've done that, if you click elsewhere on screen, it will get rid of that list. So I'll just show you that again. So hover your cursor over the column heading, click on that filter icon. You can unselect or select all using that top option there. Let's say I'm going to just have a look at my trade point products. Okay, so if we just click filter, and for now, if we can all make sure we just tick HPXL Price Tracker Plus, because we've all got those products in our software, and that's what we'll work with today. So we can filter the price book just to show one particular merchant. In addition, we can filter the price book to show one particular material type. So the next column along is called the type column. And again, if you hover your cursor over that type column, click on the filter icon, you'll see a list of all of the different material types appear. So we've got aggregates, blocks, insulation, drainage, and so on. So if we select just the blocks as an example, again, once you've made your selections, click somewhere else on screen. And if we scroll down a little bit, we can see we've got just a shorter list now of all of the HPXL Price Tracker Plus block products that are in the software. So now we've got that shorter list, it's easier just to review those few items. So if we want to do any editing of these prices, then we can do so in exactly the same way as we did with our labour rates. So if we go to the editing tools button and click edit prices, then that purchase price column will be unlocked. So you can now click and type into any of those items as needed. So the one that I usually change is our solid dense concrete block. The list price is £12.90 per square metre, and I have set my purchase price to £12 per square metre. So if you do the same at your end, or in fact type in what you would expect to pay. So we're just going to change that one for now, and then we're going to click Save Edited Changes again. As before, it's going to ask you, do you want to save this change as an adjustment? Always click yes. And I'll explain to you why that's particularly important when we're looking at materials. So as you know, that adjustment figure there, so mine is minus 6.98%, that shows the difference between the list price from the HP Excel price tracker plus product and the price I pay, which is £12 per square metre. If the average price of blocks goes up, so say they go up 20% in the next month, then the HP Excel price tracker plus list price will also go up by 20%. When you do your price download, that will come into the software. However, you're not going to need to adjust your price again, because what the software will do is it will work out the new price. So say those blocks have gone up to, I'll round it, say those blocks have gone up to £16 per square metre. What the software will do is it will take that £16 per square metre, take off my 6.98%, and it will calculate what I'm likely to be paying based on the discount that I told the software I had at this point. Okay, so if the average price of blocks jumps up to £20 per square metre and you're saying you pay 10% less, it's going to take £2 off that square metre rate. It's going to say, right, we'll base it on your solid dense concrete blocks being £18 per square metre. So what this means is if you make your price changes in your software here and save them as an adjustment, you don't need to go through and change that price again. The software is just going to tweak your purchase price cost in line with the market. So if the market moves up, then your price will move up relative to the market price. If it goes down, then your price will go down, and it will keep that adjusted rate versus the market price. So if you make these price changes, save them as an adjustment when it asks you, then you're not going to have to come in here and do that job again. Okay, so for a bit more practice, we'll have a look at the aggregate products. We're just going to dip into a few different material types, just talk through a couple of different examples, just so that you understand how the software works and what it's doing. And then, of course, if you've got a bit of time to come through and to come in and have a look at these prices in your own time, that will be time really well spent. So if we go back to the type column heading, click on the filter icon, and this time select aggregates. I'm going to untick blocks, so I'm just looking at one material type. So make sure you've ticked aggregate and then click off screen, click elsewhere on screen rather. So you've now got a relatively short list of aggregate products. So I've edited some of my prices already. If you'd like to just go to editing tools and click edit prices. Start off with that ballast bulk bag, type in the price you'd expect to pay. So the list price is £35. I've typed in my price, which is £30 per bulk bag. Then have a look at the building sand bulk bag. So again, the list price is £35, but my merchant down the road charges £31. And then I've got sub-base MOT type 1, list price £35, I pay £32. So just type in the figures that you would expect to pay for those three products: the ballast bulk bag, building sand bulk bag, and sub-base MOT type 1. And then once those changes are made, click Save Edited Changes. Yes, save them as an adjustment. And again, the software is going to adjust those prices as the list price fluctuates. If you wanted to go through and do a wholesale adjustment to all of these products, then to do that you would do what we did in the labour section. You could go to editing tools, click edit adjustments, click on the top item, hold down shift, click on the bottom item, right click, edit resource, and you could say, well, on average I'm paying 10% less. So of course this is a very broad brush way of doing it. Make sure you click apply and then click OK to apply it throughout. I'm not going to do that now, but just to show you that that is an option if that's how you prefer to work. Okay, so I've been showing you how you can edit the prices of these HP Excel Price Tracker Plus products. The reason I'm showing you how you can do that is because you can set these HP Excel Price Tracker Plus products to the rates that you pay your local merchant. So say for example you use a local quarry for your aggregate products, you could match all of these HP Excel Price Tracker Plus products to the rates that you pay in the way you've just seen, and then HP Excel Price Tracker Plus is acting like your quarry, your local quarry, your local merchants. If you've got a local timber merchant, you could do the same with your timber products, match those to what you pay your local merchants. It may be that you use someone like Travis Perkins for the majority of your products. If you do, make sure we've got your trade account number for Travis, and for £29 a year we can get their prices into your software with your terms and discounts in there. So it may be that you use someone like TP for the majority of your products, but then for these particular material types you can go through and make sure the HP Excel Price Tracker Plus products mirror what you pay, and you could use those for those particular material types. Okay, before we go into adding materials, I just want to talk to you about bricks, because bricks are a bit of a special case in how we manage them in the software. So I'm going to go to the type filter, and I'm going to select bricks and remove the aggregate products. So you'll see we haven't got a list of thousands of different types of brick in our software. Instead of trying to list them all, what we have is a relatively short list of typically priced facing bricks, going from 40p per brick to £1.60, so it's quite a wide price range there. We also have a wide range of reclaimed facing bricks as well. So how bricks work in the software is that you'll probably remember when you created your estimate, you selected the brick allowance closest to the bricks that you're going to be using for your job. And what that means is that you don't have to scroll through lists of bricks to find the specific brick you're using. The software doesn't care if it's a Wienerberger brick or a Nipstock brick. It just cares that it costs 80p. So that's how they work in the software. You just pick the price allowance which matches what you're going to be using in your job. Okay, so now let's move on to adding our own materials. So you can add any material you like to the price book. So you can, I say material, you can add any resource you like to the price book. You can add a labourer, as we've discussed. You can add a material. You can add some plant or equipment or tool. You can add sundry items. You can add subcontract items. Most of the time though, I guess you'll probably like to want to add materials. So I'm going to talk you through making a product or adding a product now. There's no limit to what you can add. You just need to know a few key bits of information. Excuse me, dropping my pen. You obviously need to know what the product is called. You need to know how much it costs. And importantly, you need to know how it is supplied, or the unit of supply. Is it something that's purchased individually? Is it purchased by the meter, by the roll, by the square meter, by the cubic meter? That's important for the software being able to calculate how much of a product you'll need. When you create a new product, it's easiest to find an existing similar product and using that as a template for the new product that you're adding. You can create a totally new product if there's nothing similar in there. That's absolutely fine. But if there is something similar, it will save you a bit of effort. So what we'll do is we'll have a go at adding an insulation product. So again, going back to our type filter, I'm going to scroll down and select, I'm going to deselect bricks actually, and select insulation. So we're filtering the price book just to look at insulation products. So one of the areas where you may find you need to add things in is in terms of like modern products, eco products, and so on. So we're going to have a go at adding a sheep wool product, just as an example. So assuming you've got your price book filter just to show HP Excel price tracker products and just insulation products, what we want to do is find a product which is most of them actually supplied by each, or in fact we could go for one that's supplied by the roll. So this ice over acoustic insulation is supplied by the roll. The product that we're going to add is also supplied by the roll. So choosing this product, which has a few of the same fields in it, will help us to speed up the process of adding the new one in. So once you've found a product to use as the template, click the New Resource button on the top menu. So first of all, we need to give the product a description. So of course we need to overtype the description that's in there, because all the software's done is made a carbon copy of the product that we selected. So let's call this sheep's wool. I haven't put an apostrophe in there. I'm not sure the software would like it. 4 meters. I'm going to put the dimensions in by 380 mil by 100 mil. The reason we're including the dimensions in the description is that it will help you at a later point when you need to tell the software the area that the roll will cover, so that the software can work out a square meter rate for it. Then we've got what we call the customer friendly description. So when you create your quotation, there is an option to use customer friendly descriptions, and they are basically just simplified layman's descriptions of the materials. They also the customer friendly descriptions also strip out any brand names, so it just makes the quote a bit simpler to read. So for this example, we could just literally copy sheep's wool. So I'm using my left mouse button just to drag where it says sheep's wool, and I'm going to use Control-C to copy that. I'm going to drag over the second text box and use Control-V to copy. So I'm just using some standard Windows shortcuts for copy and paste. Control-C to copy and Control-V to paste. So I'm just going to call it sheep's wool. I don't think they need to know the dimensions of it. And then plan specific description. If you have PlansXpress and you are importing your specification notes into PlansXpress, this is how this product will appear. So I'm just going to use my first description again. So again, using your left mouse button, drag over the description, Control-C to copy, Control and V on your keyboard to paste. Okay, so we've named that product with the various different descriptions that we use. Do you know what? If in doubt, you can just use the same name 3 times. You don't need to worry yourself too much about it. Then we need to give this product a cost. So let's say it costs £47.50 per roll. Type in £47.50. Remember, this is the price you pay, excluding VAT. VAT will be added on at a later point. We don't need to worry about putting in a discount or an adjustment because we're already typing in the price we pay. So the unit of purchase is set to roll, so that's absolutely fine. You have got the option to add in your own unit of purchase. So if you're adding something that's purchased by the bale, for example, I don't think we have bales in there yet, you can click add, type in your own unit and use it. Merchant, so you can select HP Excel Price Tracker Plus, just use that as your generic go-to merchant. As I said before, you can treat that as your local merchant. If you want to add in your local merchant, you can do that. So I think I might have had a play around and added my own fictional merchant. And then you can select them for this product. They will then appear in the merchant filter, so you can filter the price book to look at just their products. So if you want to group your merchants' products together, then that is something you can do if that's helpful to you. I'm going to stick with HPXL Price Tracker Plus for now. Next, we need to think about the type. Because we started with an insulation product, the type is correct as it is, so that's great. Your delivery and payment lead time, make sure those are set correctly. Those will feed into your material order schedules and your cash flow reports and those kinds of things, which are based on those dates. So I guess in terms of delivery at the moment, you might want to increase your delivery timescales, and then that allows you to order the products earlier if there's any uncertainty about stock availability and so on. That's probably wise, isn't it? So if you're happy with that, set the VAT rate, set to the current default of 20%. And then the last two things I wanted just to think about are the wastage fields. So we have two different wastage fields. Wastage increasing order quantity is used for a lot of building materials, and it's often set to about 10%, sometimes between 5 and 10%. So what this allows you to do is to add 10% onto your order quantity to cover things like breakage, loss, when you're talking about timber and inevitable wastage through cutting and so on. With insulation products, it tends to be set to 10% as standard. Set it to whatever you think is relevant for the product that you're adding. So you would use that wastage field for things like tiles, bricks, timber. So that 10% will be added onto your order quantity, so you know you're going to have enough to complete the task. The second wastage field is wastage not affecting order quantity. So it won't add anything onto your order quantity, but it allows you to add wastage onto whole items such as boilers, taps, windows, doors, anything that you purchase individually. So of course you can't order 10% extra of a door or a boiler. It doesn't add a wastage percentage onto the order quantity, but it does add a wastage percentage onto the price. That allows you to build in a contingency for when there's, the inevitable breakage on site, a basin's dropped or whatever. It covers you for those types of things. So there may be times when you want to put a percentage amount in into that field, or not. It's up to you. But in this case, for insulation, you want to use the first wastage field. So once you've worked your way through that, you can see the net purchase cost, including wastage. So it's added the 10% on for wastage. Don't worry about the last box there. So just click OK. And our new product will be added to the bottom. So if you scroll down, you should be able to see it. So you'll notice that any products you add will be highlighted in red. This means that they are not web linked. They're not linked to your price downloads. It's a product that you've added. HPXL doesn't know anything about it. So that means every now and again you're going to need to review the price for that particular item. That's when having a custom merchant comes in quite handy. So as I said, if you've assigned that product to your local merchant, then you can filter the price book by that merchant and just look at those costs for items you've added. Okay, so one really big caveat with adding materials or adding resources generally Don't add anything into the price book that already exists in there. Don't duplicate anything. And the reason for that is that you are then responsible for updating the price of it if you create your own product. It also makes it harder for you to select that item within an estimate. So only create resources, only create materials when it's something that doesn't already exist in the price book. If it already exists in the price book, just go in, adjust the purchase price, save that change as an adjustment, and it will save you a whole lot of work because that price will then be kept up to date by our systems. Okay, so now have a quick look at the quick time check. So we've got 3 sections of the price book to look at. We've done the 2 biggest sections, to be honest. So I think we'll go into the plant section and then we'll see how we're doing for time after that. Let me know if you've got any questions as we go along. Hopefully it's all making sense so far. Okay, so if we click on the plant section, you'll see that the plant section actually encompasses tools, equipment, and of course larger plant that you may use during the construction process. You may hire the equipment, or it may be that you own the equipment. If you own the equipment, you still need to make you still need to charge the customer for the use of it. Otherwise, you're not covering your own capital expenditure on those items, and any profits you think you're making will in fact disappear when your accountant looks at your books. So make sure you're charging for the use of all of your tools, equipment, and plant, even if you own it. So plant prices are not kept up to date by HP Excel Price Tracker Plus. So it's only the materials that are kept up to date by the price downloads. Just like in the other sections of the price book, you can edit the prices by going to editing tools and then edit prices. And then you can type in the prices individually. You can also use that edit adjustment shortcut that we talked about. So for now, if we just go to editing tools and edit prices, we'll unlock that purchase price column, and then you can make any changes as we go down the list that you see fit. So there's several items that I want to pick out of this list for you. So there's, necessarily quite a lot of items in there, but I want to pick out some of the key ones that I think will have significant impact on your estimates. So approximately 20 lines down, we've got the backhoe excavator. We used to call it JCB, now it's been made more generic, mini digger and tracked excavator. So these 3 plant items, they're a combination price of the equipment hire and also the person who's driving it. So it could be a hired driver, it could be you or one of your employees. But what you need to do is make sure that this daily price that you can see here adds up to the cost of the plant hire and the labour to drive it. So say for this backhoe here, the plant costs 100 quid a day. My man who's driving it costs 160 a day. So the total plant cost is 260. Okay, so make sure you add up those 2 costs and put in the total cost for the plant and the labour to drive it. So do that for the backhoe excavator, the mini digger and the tracked excavator. Update those figures with what you'd expect to pay. Okay, so those will obviously have a big impact on costs because they're quite expensive items. Some other items that will have quite a big impact, not because they're expensive, but because you use them for the duration of a job, are things like the portable toilet and site cabin, if applicable. So sometimes it can be quite tricky to locate a particular item in the plant. section of the price book. So what you can do is use the search box. If you can't see a search box towards the top of your screen, if you hold down the Control and F find, that search box should pop up. So Control and F for find on your keyboard. And then we can type in a keyword. So I'm going to type in portable. I can then hit enter, or I can click find, the find button. Okay, so that will highlight any items with that particular keyword in. Once you've located it, if you press the X on the search box, it will unfilter the list, but that portable toilet is still highlighted at the bottom of the screen, if you see. Okay, so portable loo, the list price is £40 per week, so that's weekly hire. So I've put my rate in here, which is £45 per week, and I've saved that as an adjustment previously. You'll have the chance to do that in a minute. Same for the site cabin, so the list price is 50. Type in whatever you'd expect to pay per week over the course of a 12-week job, or 24-week job. Those costs mount up, so you want to make sure they're correct, don't you? Okay, once you're happy with those, we're going to have a look at the tipper lorry. So about 4 lines down here, we've got the 20-ton tipper. That's set to £340. Again, this has a driver cost built in, so it's the 20-ton tipper plus the driver, plus it also includes the landfill tax, which obviously varies geographically. So make sure that total figure equates to the 20-ton tipper plus the driver plus the council tipping fee. Okay, so just that figure as needed. Then I'm just scrolling down a few times until I get to the skips. See, we've got a number of different volumes of skip. If we just pick out one of those for now, so the 6-yard skip, 4.6 cubic meters. This again includes the disposal fee, or the council tipping fee. So that's set to £180. I hear that around a lot of the country it's about £200. However, we have heard that in some parts of the southeast and Oxford and other more expensive areas, it can be up to £250 or £280 per skip. So if you use 10 skips over the course of a job and you're only estimating 180, then you're going to be out by £1,000 just on your skips, aren't you? It's galling, isn't it? So that's why we're just having a quick look at these essential, regularly used items. Okay, so of course you would go through your list of different skip sizes and make those changes as needed. And then the last few are to do with travel. So we've got the daily parking fee, which is set to £10. Above that, we've got the congestion charge, £11.50. Is that what it is these days? And then we've got the bay suspension fee. Make sure they're correct. Of course, if you're working in a city, then parking can be quite a substantial cost. And if you get it wrong, or worse still, if you overlook it altogether, that's really going to eat into your final net profit. And we don't want that. We want your profit, as you calculate it, to be your actual profit that you take home at the end of the job. We don't want it to be pie in the sky because things have been overlooked. Okay, so we've just kind of dipped our toe into the plant section of the price book there, just to give you a flavour of how it works and to home in on some of the key lines there that you might want to review. But of course, when you've got a few more minutes to yourself, the sooner the better while it's fresh in your head. It would be a good idea to go to work your way down the list and make sure, I guess, just look at any figures that are standing out as being well off where they should be and making those changes as needed. So once you've made your changes, of course, it's the same process as before. Click Save Edited Changes. I would click Yes to save those changes as an adjustment. As I said, the software is not tracking price. It's not linked to the web. It's not tracking our live prices for the plant items. However, I find it quite helpful to have that adjustment figure in there so you can see if you're in a more expensive part of the country, then if you're plus 10%, plus 20%, you'll know you're about right with where you are. Okay, I think we're going to have time actually to look through the last couple of sections of the price book because it won't take too long. And then I'll hand over to you guys for any questions, and then we can go through the few quiz questions before we wrap up for today. Okay, so subcontractor prices. So if we click on the subcontract section of the price book on the navigator on the left. So the subcontracts section of the price book is quite short. In here you'll see a list of assorted contractor types, and the contractors are all priced at £1. So you'll recall the subcontract quotation section of the estimate when we're in the main quote template screen. So when you're within your estimate, you type in the fixed price for the job in pounds. So you might be paying your electrician £800. So what the software does is it takes this list price of £1 for my electrical contractor, multiplies that by 800, and it gives us that total for that subcontract quotation of £800. So if you add any subcontractors into the price book, you will need to add them also with a £1 cost, and that's so that when you use them in the subcontract quotation section of your estimate, the figure you enter in for that particular contract will be the number of pounds that contract is, and the maths will work. There's a couple of other lines in here. They are in the subcontract quotation section of the price book because they work on a fixed price supply and fit type basis. So it works with how the other items work, but don't worry too much about that for now. So the main thing is if you want to add your own contractor into the price book, you can do that here. You just use the new resource button, but make sure you set them with a £1 list price. So I've added in a specialist floor fitter, and I've added in a home system contractor. I don't even know if that's what you call them. The guys who come and do your home controls. So yeah, any specialist that you want to add in, you can do so here, and then they will be available from within your estimate to assign a subcontract quote to. Okay, so that's all there is. There's no real editing needed in here because of the way subcontract quotes work. You enter the price within the estimate, so just make sure they have a £1 list price. The sundry section then, if you click sundry on the navigator on the left, it works in a very similar way to the subcontract section of the price book. It's simply a list of £1 people or fees that you may need to build into your estimates. So the sundry section is mostly used with those preliminary estimating calculators that we looked at to cover things like structural engineer costs, surveyor's fees, planning applications, insurance, legal fees, and so on. So basically all of the costs that you as a builder may incur prior to construction even starting, but which you still need to factor into your estimate, unless of course you don't enjoy profits, which I think we all do. So as per all the other sections of the price book, you can add in your own sundry items if there's something you feel is missing. You can use the new resource button to add it in. Again, you shouldn't need to do any editing here because everything's set with a £1 cost, and then within the estimate you would put in your design fees, £1,200, or stamp duty, whatever that would be. You just put the number of hundreds of pounds within the estimate. Okay, so if you add anything, make sure it has a £1 price in the price book. Okay, so that's the 5th section of the price book covered. So the only last, does that even make sense? The last feature of the software that I want to show you quickly that links very closely to the price books is favorite merchants. So if you do have a merchant link set up in your software, this is something you will want to think about. If you don't have any merchant links, if you're just using HP Excel Price Tracker Plus products, then you don't need to worry about this particular tool. So the favorite merchants tool, so it's on the navigator on the left. It also lives within the library. So favorite merchants allows you to set up whose prices you want to use the software to use for the different material types. So the most straightforward way of using favorite merchants is from the drop down at the top, you can select the merchant you want to use. So if you've got a Travis Perkins account linked, that will appear here, and so on. Unfortunately, it's really hard to set up dummy trade accounts, so I haven't got any in my software currently. The other thing you can do is you can pick a mix from different suppliers. So I'm going to select Crystal Direct just as an example. Crystal Direct supply windows and doors, so they wouldn't of course be able to supply all these different products, but let's just imagine I've got a merchant who can supply all of my material types in theory. So if I select that merchant and click set, then all of the material types will be using that particular merchant's prices. But now I can go through and pick a mix and refine which material types I want to get from elsewhere. So as an example I touched on before, it may be that you buy your aggregates from a different supplier and your timber products from a timber merchant. So I could then go through and say, right, I buy my aggregates from my quarry. I've set my HP Excel Price Tracker Plus products up with their prices. So I'm going to set aggregates to HP Excel Price Tracker Plus. Now I'm going to find all of my timber products, carcassing timber. Again, I've reviewed the timber products in the HP Excel Price Tracker Plus range, and I know that they match my supplier now. So I'm just going to go through any timber products, door frames, I guess, doors, go through the list. Just doing this quickly, timber moldings, timber various, and so on. So now I'm using HP Excel Price Tracker Plus products for those particular material types. All you need to do is just make sure that your HP Excel Price Tracker Plus products for those particular material types have been reviewed, that you've applied your adjustments, and then the prices for those products should be correct. And the software will use HP Excel Price Tracker Plus for those products, and it will use your main merchant, whether it's TP or whoever else, Keyline or TradePoint or whatever, for the other material types. So once you've got your settings as you want them, you can click Save Preferences, and the software will then go through the specifications, and everywhere where there's an aggregate product used, it will use the HP Excel Price Tracker Plus product. But everywhere where there's blocks and bricks and all the other material types, it will use my merchant that I've selected here for the majority of my products. Okay, so I'm going to revert to HP Excel Price Tracker Plus for now. Okay, so that's actually everything I wanted to cover in module 2. So covered a lot of ground today. So thank you for that. I know it's a lot to get your head around. But if there's one thing you take away from today's session, it's the old adage, if you put good in, you get good out. So if you can spend a few hours, and it will be a few hours, tweaking your price book, inputting your prices, saving them as adjustments, then you'll know that you've got the correct prices in there. And using that adjustment feature, you know your prices are going to be pretty good, pretty spot on going forwards. And you're then going to have that good base set of data for your estimates. And of course, that base set of data is important for estimating your actual costs and correctly calculating your profit. Once you know how much the job's going to cost and you've put on your profit margin, then you'll be able to negotiate any discounts with your clients, knowing what your profit margin is and what you can afford to discount if that's a conversation that you need to have. But it's more than that. It's not just about quoting for the job and winning the job. It's also having a forward view of your cash flow. So being able to set up a payment schedule with the customer so that you've got money coming in at the right time. It's also going to allow you to monitor costs during the build so that it will help you in terms of managing the project, spotting when costs are spiraling, when things are costing more than they should, keeping on top of those things so that your profit figure at the end is what you predicted at the start. So yeah, that's just some of the reasons, I guess, why it's important to get those prices accurate in your price book. So let me know if you've got any questions on anything we've covered in the price book or any of those items that we rounded up within the estimate itself. I'll give you a minute or two to think, type your questions. I'll just have a quick drink of my water and then I will go through the quiz questions if you'd like to stay for that. Okie doke. So Dean, you're saying you've got a Travis Perkins account, but it doesn't come up. Have you spoken to the tech support guys and set up the link for your Travis Perkins account? Have you given us your account number at any point? Because if you have done and you've paid that £29 per year for the merchant link, then you should be able to see it. So if you have done those things and you can't see it, if you can just confirm your Travis Perkins account number with me, and I will pass it on to the tech support team and get them to follow up with you. Okay, right then. So yeah, if you let me know your trade account now, and I'll make sure that will get sorted for you if it should have been done already. So apologies if that hasn't been sorted. Yeah, okay, I'll pass that on and get that resolved for you as soon as. Okay, thanks for that. Okay, so let's have a quick look at our questions to finish off then. So I'm going to use the poll function on GoToWebinar again, so you'll be able to interact with the questions and answer them as we go along. So how are the labour rates set up in EstimatorXpress? Are they hourly, daily or weekly rates? Place your bets, please. Okay, it's almost as if you guys have been listening. 100% of you have said they're set up as hourly rates, which is spot on. So if you tend to calculate your labour costs using day rates, then just divide that figure by 8 to give you your hourly rate when you're inputting your rates. If you start putting daily rates into the software, it's going to make things 8 times more expensive than they should be. So yeah, make sure you input everything as an hourly rate. Brilliant, thank you for that. Okay, so staying in the price book. What button do you click if you want to change the price of resources in the price book? Would you click new resource, editing tools, or edit resource. Okay, thank you for answering that one. I'm just going to go into the price book for a second. Because if I select just a random item, you don't need to do this at your end. So lots of you have clicked edit resource, and you're totally correct in that. The method we've been using mostly today is clicking editing tools, and then you can just work your way down the screen, making multiple changes quite quickly. If I just hide that question again for a moment. But yeah, if you go into new resource, if you go to edit resource, eat my words here, then you can, if you untick that update button, you can overwrite the unit costs in there. Overwrite or override the unit costs in there. So you can do that to make an individual change. But if you want to save the changes so that they will be updated with the price download, if you need to make that adjustment here. So I would suggest editing tools and edit prices. Doing it on the screen is the quickest and the most effective way of doing it, and it allows you to save the changes and adjustment. Okay, so thanks for that. So yeah, editing tools is probably the best way to do it, although it can be done through edit resource. Okay, so talking of adjustments, oh, it's strange, GoToWebinar occasionally just loses the odd word. It is there in the original question. What is an adjustment, that should say? So select one of these, any one of these definitions is correct. Is it the percentage discount downloaded from my merchant? Is it the percentage difference between the list price and the price I pay? Or is it the actual amount in pounds I pay for a resource? What is an adjustment? Okay, thanks for your votes. So spot on with that one. I probably have laboured the point today. So the adjustment shows the percentage difference between our list price and the price that you have typed into that purchase price column. And the reason it's really important to save any price changes you make as an adjustment is that they will then track the list price as the market changes. As you do a price download and you get the latest list prices into your software, your purchase price will go up or down in line with the market rates. So that's great. I'm really glad that you understand how the adjustments work. Okay, so 2 questions left. When should you add a resource to the price book? If you want to add your own version of a resource with my price, your price, if I need to add a resource which doesn't exist in the price book, or if I want to change the price of a resource in the price book, when should I add a resource? Okay, thanks for answering those. So there's only one scenario really when you should add a resource, and that is if you need a resource in your estimate which doesn't exist in the price book. If the product exists in there already, then all you need to do is edit the price of it. You don't want to be adding your own resources in just because you want your own price in there. And the reason for that is that you will then need to keep that price up to date and regularly review it. So the fewer of your own products you've got in there, the better, because it's less work for you with reviewing costs, basically. Okay, so I'll hide that one, and then on to our last question. Okay, so thinking about the subcontract section, if you want to add a subcontractor into the price book, what price should you give them? The total supply and fixed rate for the task, including VAT, total supply and fixed rate for the task, excluding VAT, or £1. So this is talking about adding the item to the price book, not to the estimate, because those are 2 slightly different things. Okay, thank you for your answers. So when you're adding a subcontractor into the price book, you always want to give them a £1 rate. And then when you are in the estimate and you want to add a quote in for that particular subcontract type, then you would put the total fixed rate cost for that, excluding VAT, within the estimate. But within the price book, always give any subcontractors that you add there a £1 cost. Okay, so that's our second session complete. So thank you so much for your time, guys. We'll make sure we email over a link to today's video. So if there's anything you want to go over again to reinforce, then that will be available to you. Our next session is next Tuesday at 12:30 again. In that session, we're going to be looking at how specifications work in the software and how you can set up your own specifications. So I look forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, if you've got a chance to have a bit more time reviewing the prices in the price book, then that's a really good thing to do while you're fresh out of the training and you can remember how to do the editing of the prices and so on. It's a good time to do it if you can. If you come across anything that you have trouble with, then of course get in touch with tech support. You can give them a call or you can email them support@hbexcel.co.uk. We're really here to help you get on board and confidently using the software, so do give them a shout. But otherwise, I will see you on Tuesday and have a brilliant weekend. Yeah, I'll see you next week for some more EstimatorXpress learning. All right, guys, thank you ever so much. See you then. Bye.